Welcome to the Take a Seat podcast. This is Mario.
And Clint,
Uh, today, thank you for joining us.
thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Yep.
We uploaded the last episode just due to delays, but thank you for being there anyway. So,
Yeah.
it's all good.
Thank you.
So, today's episode, with all the changes going on in my life, I've had a lot of time to be introspective and think about stuff, right? And of course, I'm appreciative of all the support that I've had and, everyone kind of rooting for me essentially. And I found something.
Yeah.
Update. And it's a really amazing option.
Hmm.
Granted, it's not the end goal. Like, I have a different end goal career, and that's also in the works. So, if God wants it to be, then that's what it will be. But where I am now is going to be an amazing opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because they give me 3.5 days off
Yeah, that's a blessing.
a week. That's crazy, dude.
That's
I've never had that before.
Yeah.
But in thinking about this changing in jobs and thinking about how my life is going to basically be established down here further south now, officially. Like, instead of having to commute 45 minutes, an hour and a half, really, every single day just to get to a work that underpays everybody. A job that underpays everybody. But it's not even about that, right? See, you can easily pick apart anything just based on the small bad sides of it. But if you look at what purpose those things filled, right, or fulfilled, or what the intent was of being in certain places, you'll find a lot of good there. So I feel comfortable stating where I worked. You worked somewhere differently, so you don't have to disclose anything. So I worked for Harris County. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And when I first started at Harris County, cigars, so you're going to hear the little gaps here and there. When I first started at Harris County, this was 2016, right? At that point in time, it was another transitionary area, like transitionary stage of my life, where there was a lot of family problems going on. I was the older brother that had to do something about my situation, but I had no guidance. I had no support system. I made some bad decisions, bad financial decisions, like getting an apartment that I could not afford out of desperation instead of waiting and finding something better, right? And I took on a lot of responsibilities that in hindsight were just mistakes. I never should have done it to begin with. And I take full responsibility for, things happening at that point in time the way they happened. Because at the end of the day, if I made better choices, would have been in better circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is. I'm not dwelling. I'm just stating. And what I needed at that point in time was stability. I think if I would have been job bouncing and looking around and working odd jobs here and there, my development as a person would have been a lot different. See, one thing about the county is, at least in hindsight, right? The pay may be trash, whatever, it's debatable. The insurance is amazing. So you just, pros and cons, of course, to every job. But what it gave me was stability. When my life was in shambles on a personal level, my job was not something I had to worry about at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And I wondered these last couple of days, actually, waiting for answers from interviews and all this, right? And I pondered and I thought and I prayed on this. And, of course, my ego as a man, as a human, wants me to resent the job that's letting me go. Like, oh, forget all of y'all. Y'all doing me dirty. I've been here for 5 years. Like, screw everybody. Or not everybody, but you know what I mean. Like, It's just that resentful attitude. But something about praying, right? It feels like it's auto-correcting my attitude.
Mm.
And maybe it's just God doing that, or maybe it's just me doing that, whatever the case may be, or call it maturity.
Mhm.
But every time I complain, right, in my head, like, man, I can't believe, like, I really want to do this and this and this, just to, like, stick it to him or whatever, right? In my head, that thought stops immediately, and it always diverts to, but what fruit came from this tree that was the county?
Mhm.
The fruit was stability. The
Mhm.
fruit was weekends off that gave me access to go visit my family all the time.
Mhm.
The fruit was the holidays off that I had that most jobs don't offer you, where you could see your family, where you could spend the holidays, where you could be with your family, with your loved ones, and experience life on a stable level, right?
Mhm.
Finances aside, I'm just talking about like the benefits of it, right?
Mhm.
Like the big picture. And every single time I want to do something negative. And even if I do, I kind of like stop. Because a lot of good came from this job.
Yeah.
You know, my boss could have gotten rid of me a long time ago,
Mhm.
but he kept me.
Mhm.
Whether he wanted to or not, point is he kept me. We may have had differences, but in the end, getting to know him just a tad bit more. We could argue that he sabotaged, manipulated, whatever, but the fact is I had a job for 5 years. It gave me stability, gave me holidays, gave me a lot of leniency. And I didn't have to worry about a paycheck. The only reason I'm being like, oh, really, was just budget. And well, my boss not wanting to move me, but the bad stuff aside, it's just literally a budget thing. So it happens. Everybody gets fired at some point. Whatever. That's just how I'm choosing to see it. But this is how I felt. Exactly how I felt when I left my previous job before going to the county. And at that point in time, I didn't have any guidance. I didn't have anyone to support me, anyone to help me with the transition. I didn't know what I was looking at. I only had one person actually, and that was one of my best friends, Josh. You know,
Yeah.
and he's the one that got me in the county at the time. He's like, "Hey, man, I know you know what's going on. If I can get you in, just put your application." Got me in, and dude, I've been through one, two, three, four, about 3 or 4 different life stages
Mhm.
while working at the county.
Mhm.
I was able to overcome drug addiction. I was able to meet
Mhm.
amazing people,
Mhm.
you know, make lifelong friends. Like
Mhm.
you never find that at a job. Sometimes, or really for the most part, I think that when you work somewhere, you're cool with people, but then if you leave, that's the end of it. That's
Mhm.
it. I think all parties are aware that you were just co-workers. You know, life moves on.
Yeah.
But here, maybe it's seeing each other for so long, right? For every single day,
Yeah.
elections and all this other stuff. To the people that you do develop friendship with,
Mhm.
it can be rather close in comparison to like even your, depending on what friendship level you're in. But like this one guy, he worked in the file room with me. He's not there anymore. He quit before the pandemic and he went to the refineries, and then I think he's doing well now. So good for him.
Hmm.
But he and I went through a lot of misery together because of my boss.
Yeah.
And of course, we don't talk that much anymore because, well, life happened. You know, you just move on, and I check in on him here and there, but that's about it. And I do see him as a friend, like obviously a distant friend now. But if we were to hang out again, we would be just like, right back to it.
Yeah.
And Anthony, one of our friends, he got to meet him and work with him for a long time. And at that point in time, this guy and I were idiots. I mean, just frankly, we really were just like super childish, man. And it was like two peas in a pod, but the pod was like immature. Yeah, pretty much. But it was because of him that I was able to like push through a lot of stuff sometimes, like a lot of addictions, a lot of bad decisions, and he, of course, we made bad decisions of our own. But what I'm getting at is that working at the county in a place that's so stable at the time that there was just no way I'm going to go anywhere kind of gave me a safe haven, even if that's not how you're supposed to look at your job. But with my job being the most stable thing in my life at the time, that was my safe haven. Just being there, I just do one thing and I listen to music and escape the day just by listening to music. That's literally what I did for a long time, especially through my depression and overcoming addiction. That's all I did. I listened to Mac Miller's albums all the time. I listened to Kanye's The Life of Pablo. I listened to a lot of The Strokes, like just a bunch of bands, right? And even Christian music before I associated with religion. But that thing, that lifestyle, that recovery system, that path could not have happened if I worked anywhere else. See, I understand that there are probably better jobs at the time. I understand that there's probably, I don't know, better opportunity. But I think it was all about God having a plan. Like, I think God wanted me to stay somewhere, experience stability, but He allowed me to do that because He needed to because He was allowing me to reconfigure myself and develop character and develop morals and create a baseline for like what it is that I represent.
Yeah.
And to create or develop the ability to interact with people, to have better social skills. Because 2016 Mario, of course, I've already said it before, I had addictions, there was sex everywhere, just all over the place. But if I were to meet myself at that point in time, it'd be pretty off-putting, quite frankly. And I understand why, we weren't really cool back then. Like, we were aware of each other's existence, but it was never like, I wouldn't even say coworker. It was just like, oh, you're cool to talk to. You have a couple of guys at the county that you run into them sometimes, and you're like, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Cool. And that's the extent of it. So I see the upside of this. Like I see this job, or former job now, for what it was, and it was an opportunity to grow. As a person. Again, you can knock the job all you want, the pay, whatever. But if the worst thing about the job that's kind of giving you a place to develop and feel kind of safe in comparison to everything that's going on, if the worst thing is the pay, that's a temporary sacrifice that I think may have been necessary, even if I didn't know it at the time. Right. And I was broke for a long time, dude. Like, I had no initiative to get financial help or help myself. Like, I really did, like, dead broke. Like, I don't know how you and I hung out sometimes. Actually, yeah, I do. Because sometimes, just flat out, I always kept frozen chicken and frozen vegetables, the cheapest stuff, in stock, right?
Yeah.
That's why when we first started hanging out, you would always see that in there. I was preparing for my bank account to hit zero and be broke for a couple of days. That's it. Part of the reason it helped that I worked downtown is because I lived downtown. Never had to worry about gas, never had to worry about traffic. I could just walk. I could live on $40 a week. My rent was $850 plus $160 a month for gas. I didn't have a car note. I didn't pay insurance. I didn't have insurance for a long time. Actually, nobody really knew that.
You didn't have a what?
Insurance, like car insurance.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was just driving around without insurance, man. And thank God that I never got pulled over. I never got even in my times of desperation like that when I got stranded at Katie's, never got pulled over, never saw a police officer, like never. If I would have interacted with the law, I probably would have got the car towed, and that would have been even worse. So look at God, man. Looking out. But even with experiencing that and just being at the park all the time, I realized in hindsight, like, man, that was necessary. Because if I hadn't experienced living worse than paycheck to paycheck, this is more like broke to broke. Because I expected being broke. It's just a matter of a question of when.
Yeah.
right? And how fast. That's it. And who I was at that point in time, even as recently as like 2018. That's how recent this was.
Yeah.
And I think it was necessary because it created a hunger in me, like I told you, right? And it helped me to develop like this attitude of like 60 hours a week is nothing compared to having $0 in your bank account for a week. Like not having any freedom to do anything other than walk my boy Chico, that's my dog, and being able to eat. That's it. Like it's crazy to me. And then now, fast forward 2021, I'm in a great financial place. I mean, amazing financial place. All thanks to the opportunities that I have and everything just coming full circle. Like you start at one place and you end at another. In the end, it's all the same circle, just different place. That's it. The beginning wasn't the end, and the end is now the beginning. Because with this door closing, another one opened. And now I look forward to this next stage of life because I look forward not just to what is in store, right? What I'm going to develop now, right? See, what I'm thinking now is, if God allows it, of course, another level of financial stability.
Yeah.
Like I'll just say I'm middle class, medium middle class, right there. 37 to 45. That's middle class, right around there, right? Like I'm guessing, or is that lower middle class?
I think that's lower. I think
it's better than being lower class.
Yeah.
I'm saying that.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Beats poverty for sure.
Yeah, and I just pray to God, and I'm just like, man, like you're giving me these opportunities that are going to allow me to experience upper middle class, not high class. So I think anything in the upper class is 100,000 and up.
So middle class income is $55,605.
And anything under that is considered poverty?
That's a good question. We're going to find out. Lower class.
I mean, really, you can live a really good lifestyle on 40.
Okay,
right?
lower middle class is 32 to 53. Poor or near poor is 32 or less.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And at that time, my parents for a long time wanted me to live with them. Like for years, they wanted me to live with y'all and finish school and do all this, and just outside factors, immaturity, lack of vision, lack of a plan didn't allow me to. I just didn't have the foresight to finish school sooner.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just interesting to me to see things now in a different light, and like see how things are gonna turn out for the better. And like I envision now realistically like a family, like 1 or 2 kids within the next 5 years, and getting a house, getting married. Like that's another level of stability, right? And like I tell my girl now, she has an amazing support system for her family.
Yeah.
Amazing. I've never experienced that. Like all of them love me. All of them. I've never, even now sometimes it's weird for me to accept that because it's like, what do you want? Like in my head, they don't want anything. They don't even, it's not even like that, but I'm just saying that just previous experiences and then previous solitude, right?
Yeah.
And just being independent all on my own and doing everything on my own, which never led to anything, by the way. I do not encourage anyone to do that. You can't move up alone. Never gonna happen. But it just always it always in the back of my head, I'm like, what do y'all want? What is this? That's it. Even though there's nothing else to it other than that's basically future family.
Yeah.
But I look forward to it, and it might just be maturity, but I think by the time I finish school, I'll be 28, 29, I think. at that point in time, there's an opportunity to make anywhere between 66 to 72,000, and it's a very, very safe option, which I'm perfectly fine with. I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Because I understand my role. In my lifetime, my role is going to be the one that establishes the grounds for a stable family tree, you know? Well, like, everyone doesn't have to resort to, like, being poor.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the detriments to why I see, like, a bunch of families that, like, where everyone's broke. Because nobody breaks that chain. Nobody breaks that thought process. You just kind of grow up with, all right, we just all live in mama's crib and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very common thing, especially with, like, Hispanic and Latino communities like mine. Like, it's extremely common. And it just not, I don't envision that for myself. And I'm just grateful that I have the opportunity to break that. But full circle, man. It's interesting. It's fascinating, really. Yeah, I don't see this job as, like, screw that job. I see it as, like, wow.
What do you hope this job?
This next job?
Yeah. What do you hope as far as personal development is concerned? What do you hope that you gain from it? Because you gained stability from this job.
Right.
You also gained a lot of, and I'm not gonna necessarily credit it to the job. I think maybe the job played some sort of role in it, but you definitely gained a moral compass for sure, because before, like, you were perverse.
Yeah.
Like you
Super.
like anything was on the table as far as anything was concerned. Like, you were just down for whatever. It seemed like, at least that was the persona. I don't know, like.
Oh, I don't disagree.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It was, like, beyond whole level.
Yeah.
Like, this was just,
I would
like,
cringe. Like, it felt dirty just listening to you talk sometimes. I was like, man, this dude's nasty. Like, the type of stuff that he talks about, I'm like, man, I don't even feel comfortable right now.
Dude, it was so bad that at one point I actually Zach will tell you. There was this girl. It was probably like a fake profile or something. I don't know. I met it on some weird app, and the person was talking about blood play or something. You remember that?
I don't even know what that is.
Basically, like, I mean, this is a real thing. This is an actual kink, by the way. Let me just educate you real quick. People will cut themselves and lick that blood and be sexually seduced by that. That's an actual thing. No, the other person's blood.
So they'll lick the other person's blood.
Yeah, but just small cuts. I'm not talking about, like, gutter. It's just like minor razor.
I kind of understand that.
Like little things. It's like a power thing, you know. Like I'm kind of bleeding you out, so your survival is dependent on me. Like, it's a power play. That's all it is.
That's what they get off on it from?
Yes.
Huh.
I'm not saying it's right.
Right.
I mean, it's.
No, I can understand that.
I mean, but that's another level, though. Like, I get.
I'm not saying I'm into that. I'm just saying,
wrestling and, like, throwing around, but, like, blood play. That's, man, one wrong cut, it's a wrap. But at that point in time, I was with it, man. I was just like, whatever. Let's just gut each other. Let's make some menudo.
Nice, dude.
Screw it.
Yeah, there you go.
But I agree with you, man. Yeah, no, it was wow. Yeah, I definitely developed a baseline of morals, to say the least. Yeah, but, you know, well, we can end the job conversation. Look, full circle. I look forward to the near future. But you touched on the subject, blood play, and I kind of want to dive into that a little bit more.
Blood play?
No. The concept of, like, things that people may be aroused by, right? Which, look, as long as nobody actually gets hurt in my eyes, it's all play.
How did we get on this topic? I asked you a really introspective question.
What did you ask me?
I asked you.
We paused for the record, so if you hear this.
What was it that you wanted to gain since you gained, like...
Well, you didn't finish your question.
Yeah, I did.
We got into blood play somehow.
Yeah, because I was saying how perverse you were, and then you just rode that train into the darkness, dude.
Yeah, wow, I got sidetracked. So what do I hope to? Don't edit it out. Leave it in.
So they know what kind of sicko you were.
Man, they don't call me Travis Scott for no reason. Nobody calls me.
Nobody.
Not even close. Not even I call myself Travis Scott. Straight up. Anyway, so what do I hope to receive or achieve from this job?
But not monetarily.
So this job, it allows me to, it's going to introduce me to a different world. I'm wondering if I can disclose, law enforcement. I'll just say that. It's going to introduce me to that world, to that job market. I will come face to face with this stuff. Like the dark side of humanity.
Yeah.
So, look, when they interviewed me, right, they asked me, I'm not going to be a police officer, for the record. This job is completely different from that, but it is in that world. They asked me, are you scared of violence? You know, that you, at some point in this job, you're going to run across some dark stuff.
Yeah.
Is that something you can handle?
Mm-hmm.
And in all transparency, with my hand to God, I told him the only thing I fear on this earth is, or the only being I fear is God.
Yeah.
I deliberately told him, like, look, I grew up in Third Ward. I grew up in A-Leaf. I grew up in Fondren and Bel Air, the hood side of everything, and I've lost some people, and I've seen people lose people. I've seen blood directly on my hands from holding somebody. I've seen people get gutted. I've seen people get... You name it, I've seen it. Mm-hmm. There's no business for me to be seeing that as a child, but it is what it is. So I told him, thanks to those experiences, I've grown, even though it's a bad thing, kind of like a immunity to violence. Mm-hmm. I don't fear man. I fear God. Mm-hmm. I can handle a man that's aggressive because at least I know I can defend myself. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to God, there's no way I can defend myself. It doesn't matter what I do. You know, I actually told Chris Cade, I kind of wanted to pull a Job. For those that don't know, Job fought God, and then God paralyzed him, like, out of nowhere at the end of the fight.
Oh, it wasn't Job.
Who was it?
That was... It was Jacob.
Right. It doesn't really pair well with this. Never. Yeah, so it was Jacob. And for a long time, I really didn't want to just throw hands with God, man. I really did. I was just like, man.
Good luck.
Yeah. No, even I knew, obviously, you can't win. But I really wanted to just, like, express anger.
Yeah.
And I want you to feel my anger and the pain that I'm going through because this is the position you're putting me through.
Yeah.
And obviously, it never came, and it probably never will happen. But if I ever have the opportunity, I still want to throw hands. Yeah. It's like, I feel like, you know, you just need to catch him one time. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, God, I don't understand you, man. I don't.
Yeah.
Or being.
You gonna throw hands with the hands that he gave you?
I don't care, man.
The hands that he could just remove from you?
Even if he takes my life, I'm going to still throw him. On my way up or down, I'm swinging. Like,
so
but God knows my intent. I may not know how to express it, but he knows that obviously, like, dude, you and I just gotta throw hands one time out of respect for each other. That's it. Because you know how, okay, if you grow up in the hood, sometimes,
I get
you know, it's not even like you have beef, but sometimes you just like, man, run it. That's it. There is no logic behind it outside of just like minor frustration, and there's no talking. There's no negotiating.
Yeah.
Even if you are on solid talking terms, just throwing hands one time. All right, dog.
Yeah, it's a bonding experience.
That's it.
Yeah.
It kind of is.
No, okay. So they studied male aggression versus female aggression in children.
Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I actually watched it.
Yeah,
it was on a podcast of him talking with somebody. But anyway, so the way that males tend to express aggression is physical, and the way that women tend to express aggression is through reputation destruction. So, like, women express their aggression by ruining somebody's reputation, maybe calling a girl, saying that a girl slept with all of these other men, something like that,
Right.
or like however they can do it. And then like men, typically it's going to be physical. Like
Yeah.
that's the way that they're going to
Yeah.
express their aggression. And the funny thing is that whenever women express their aggression physically, or let's say women, whenever girls express their aggression physically,
Wait, why'd you correct that?
because this study was done on children, like
Oh,
they
okay.
observed children, and whenever girls got into physical altercation, they never were friends ever again. There was no reconciling ever,
Yeah.
ever. But when boys expressed their aggression physically, oftentimes they ended up becoming great friends,
Yeah.
and it became, like you said, a respect for each other. So yeah, there's some truth to that. It's like I'm not saying that you should fight with God because you're gonna absolutely lose.
You don't know, man.
But,
You never
oh yeah, if you can beat God, I need to serve a different God real quick, because if Mario, like, shoot,
No.
that's weak.
Even if I, not that I would, God, you know, I'm just playing. He knows I'm just playing. Even if I did, right, he
Yeah.
would win the war. Because
No
he would
doubt.
make sure that I'd be homeless and never succeed at anything in my life. He'd get me addicted to porn again, and he'd get me addicted to something to where, like, I'd end up in a bad position, basically.
Yeah.
So he would win the war.
He'll take your mind from you.
So that's why I'm like, you know what, man? Fine, one day, but not
Yeah,
today.
straight up.
But yeah, man, it's just, you know, it's a respect thing. It's just a bonding experience, and it's true. Like, I've fought guys literally, and it's cool. We're good.
Yeah.
We're not friends, but we're like, all right. You good? Good? Cool.
Yeah.
How do we get there? How do we get here? Talking about Jacob and
Well, you were telling Chris Cade about Jacob. You still haven't answered my question of what it is that you hope to gain, like, intrinsically.
no, I was leading to that in something, but we paused so many times that I've lost track. Look, okay, so it's gonna introduce me. Oh, there you go. Violence, being immune to violence, being
Yeah.
immune to that,
Mhm.
only fearing God. That's how we got there.
Yeah.
Sorry, audience. So I told him the interviewers. I'm not scared of men. I'm not scared of behaviors. I'm not scared of any of this. I've been exposed to this. This is nothing new to me. If anything, I welcome it. I want to be exposed to that at this point in my life, because look, at some point, as a father, you cannot warn your children of violence if you've never experienced it.
Mhm.
It's kind of like saying, it's kind of like a rich father can never really truly teach their children how to be humble, because he himself does not have the means to be humble.
Mhm.
You can't. You just having the freedom to go anywhere at any time you want. There is a what's the word I'm looking for? Flamboyancy. There's some type of behavior to that even if you don't realize it, you're kind of showing off a little bit. Like saying, sure, you're taking care of your family, because that's my angle too. You know, don't get me wrong. I want to get to a point where, like, I'm at 150, 100 to 150.
Mhm.
Ride it out. Die after that. That's it. That's exactly what I want out of my life.
Yeah.
Get, you know, obviously you're upper class at that point, you're taking care of your family, but I need to know, right, from a objective law enforcement perspective, how to deal with violence.
Mhm.
Because that's how I learn stuff. Like, I have to be exposed to it, but in a structured way,
Yeah.
to where it allows me to, like, oh, okay, these are the consequences, this is how you deal with it, etc., etc.
Mhm.
Kind of like relationships. You can never know what the heck it's like being in a relationship with a woman until you're in a relationship with a woman.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter how much advice your friends give you. It doesn't matter how many girls you talk to. If you're not in an actual relationship,
Yeah.
it is not the same thing.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
Similar.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I hope to get from that. It's like another level of wisdom,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But in a way that it's exposing me to the dark side of humanity,
Mm-hmm.
and I will be able to warn my kids, like, yo, look, don't get into any white vans. Don't get into, don't tell.
Oh, dude, I was thinking about the shoes.
No, those are horrendous.
Yeah.
I think vans should be left in middle school and high school, but that's just my opinion. Um, just like stranger danger stuff. But like, I think that I watch a lot of documentaries. I watch a lot of like To Catch a Predator, stuff like that, and it's insane to me how many kids are actually susceptible to this type of manipulation,
Mm-hmm.
like befriending somebody online,
Yeah.
especially now,
Yeah.
and you get murdered. Like, look at most recently, there was a model. I think her name was Miss Mercedes. OnlyFans model. Nobody knew her location. Like, she was just one of those that showed off on the gram, right? Cardi B defended her and all that because she was murdered by a fan, a subscriber to her Instagram, or like a follower, and he subscribed to her OnlyFans, and apparently he stalked her, found her here in Houston, and murdered her.
Where was that at?
I don't know. That was here in Houston recently. If you look up Miss Mercedes, you'll find it.
Was that at the Marriott?
No.
Oh, okay.
I know what you're talking about.
Oh.
That was the murder-suicide. No,
Yeah.
this is another one.
Okay.
So with that being said, I mean, this is a grown woman.
Mm-hmm.
So if she was susceptible to this stuff, what makes you think your kids aren't?
Mm-hmm.
How many missing kids are there every single year in the U.S.?
Yeah.
Obviously, you can attest that to, like, what's that, The Grove? What's it called?
Oh, Bohemian Grove?
Bohemian Grove, human sacrifices, Illuminati, all that stuff. But the point is that I feel like I need that level of objectivity.
Mm-hmm.
I need to see how to deal with this stuff on a real level, right? Mm-hmm. So that level of character development, financial freedom. Luckily, this opportunity is giving me a lot of off time, still celebrating the holidays, still celebrating everything that the county does, and amazing insurance, and that's a blessing from God, and there's no other way. None of the glory or credit will go to me because anybody else could have gotten hired. Mm-hmm. Anybody else had, I'm sure there was more qualifying candidates, but I made a good impression. Mm-hmm. Or maybe God just put it in them like, hey, get that application. They were in a good mood because God did it. Mm-hmm. So let the glory be to God. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's all I see for now. Just like, okay, financial stability, being able to raise a family, get a house, potentially, just down the road.
Yeah, right.
Finish school. Like, there's just another level of responsibilities.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. That's my answer.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, that's a good skill to have, is learning how to deal with those situations and being able to teach your children that. I did want to speak on the whole rich man thing. I understood what you actually meant, although I don't agree that a rich man can't be humble. And the reason I say that is because you may not be humbled in your finances, but you can be humbled through a divorce, or you can be humbled through rebellious children, or you can be humbled through a disease, or you can be humbled by, there's just literally an endless amount of things that can humble a person. Look at Kanye. He's rich, but he got humbled through mental illness.
You think he's humble?
No. But he's being humbled.
Oh, okay.
Like, you can clearly see a transition is happening in his life. Now he's going through a divorce, another level of humbling. It's like having to wonder if somebody else is going to be raising North, his daughter. It's like, that's a humbling experience,
Yeah.
It's like, God has a way of getting to us, and he knows exactly what's going to really work on getting us humble, even if we seemingly have it all and can't leave our position, Like, shoot, so many great men throughout the Bible, Job being one of them. Like, Job was the richest man at the time. He was the richest man, and Satan ended up being called by God, and God asked Satan, have you considered my servant Job? He's perfect and blameless in my sight. And Satan ends up saying, oh, well, the only reason that he serves you is because you have a hedge of protection around him. But basically Satan ends up taking all of his cattle and killing them. Then he ends up having his house get burnt to the ground. His wife ends up dying. His children end up dying. And then and through all of this, Job is like, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away.
Really?
Yeah, through all of this.
Wow.
He's keeping a positive attitude, and he's like, look, I didn't get this on my own. The Lord gave this to me, so he has the right to take it away. But the last straw was Satan ended up hitting him with a disease that caused all of like a skin disformity, kind of like boils on his skin. And he was so freaking crushed. He cursed the day of his birth. He was angry at God. He was angry at life. And he was ready to be taken out, dude. He tore off his clothes and he said to God, naked I came into this world, naked I leave. I'm paraphrasing, but it's like he was at an all-time low, and then God appears to him and rebukes, which corrects him, and he's like, where were you whenever I hung the stars in the sky? Where were you whenever I created the moon, and when I created the sun, and when I created this world? Where were you at? You don't know who you're dealing with. I'm God and you're man, and you're not running anything around here. And Job ended up repenting and got back twice of what he lost. He was already the richest man prior to that, but now he was twice as rich, and he got a new wife. He got upgraded twice of whatever he lost. And his children, prior to them dying, they were rebellious children, like extremely rebellious children. They were using all of the wealth and just throwing lavish parties. They were sinful children, and he was always offering up sacrifices unto God on their behalf as an atonement for them, because he saw the life that they were living. And his wife was his former wife, the one that ended up dying. Like, his wife was a rebellious woman, because whenever she saw that he had lost the house and that he lost all the cattle and stuff like that, she told him, curse God and die. Why do you still have faith in this God? Basically, like, give up. And then she ends up getting X'd out. So, but
I got a problem with that, I gotta say.
Yeah, well, what's the problem?
So, okay, look. Okay. The intent isn't to, like, discredit or talk down on God or anything like that. Okay. You're saying that verbatim. Let's just roll with that.
Yeah.
Let's just say that that's exactly what it says. Because
Yeah. Well,
in case,
it's paraphrasing, but yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the gist of it.
I have to argue against that.
Yeah.
Why does God
Mhm.
get to just take everything away from you?
Mhm.
Who are you to take stuff from me? Like, first of all, I don't care that you're the omnipotent or you're the almighty. Like, stop using that as a cop-out. That's a cop-out.
Uh-huh.
That's like your parents abusing of you, raising you, and saying, I brought you into this world, so shut up. You can't
Right.
tell me anything.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
No way. I'm not accepting that.
Right.
I'd rather die throwing hands with you than for you to tell me and try to ridicule me and saying, because I brought you into this world, I gave you everything, I can take you right out.
Yeah.
Try it.
Yeah.
Obviously, God can do that.
Right.
But I have to rebuttal that. Like, not against you,
No.
but like the idea of that, like, why?
Yeah.
So, okay, fine. My children are sinners. Fine. My wife is a heathen. Whatever.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I want them dead.
Right.
Sure, I know the principle. I'm sure the principle to that story is like, above everything, God probably has better intentions for you. Maybe he's just trying to shift your way of thinking. He's testing you, et cetera, et cetera. But why to those extremes? Under the guise of, because I am God and I'm testing you.
Yeah.
Dog, just kill my cows. That's okay. Like, if I can't make a living, we're all starving. That's a pretty moderate way of testing our faith.
Yeah.
Why do you have to kill everybody to make a point?
Yeah. Well, like, no, I get that, man. It's a very it's a controversial as with a lot of the Old Testament, is controversial. But I think,
And again, before you say
yeah,
that, to those listening, I still believe in God.
right,
Obviously, God knows that I have these questions and knows that
yeah,
us humans will never understand them. So he knows that we have these questions and we want answers, but we'll probably never get them.
yeah,
And that's not the point. I'm sure that at some point it's kind of like Ken, when you die
yeah,
and you just, if you go to heaven, you lose track of the questions and you just get this overwhelming joy that you just can't explain. But it's kind of like a baby,
mhm,
right? Like your baby's born, they're happy, they don't know why they're happy, but they're just happy. That's how I interpreted Ken's experience in
yeah,
going to heaven and
yeah,
seeing that, and he's just like overwhelmingly happy and he doesn't know why, and then like that. So
yeah,
don't get me wrong, like I think God knows this and we'll never get it, so I don't feel bad in questioning
right.
this,
No,
right?
I don't
So
think
I'm just
there's.
saying that.
I don't even think what you said was necessarily wrong. I mean, I think that's a natural human response. It's like, and so my perspective on, and this is just my perspective, I'm not saying that this is the truth or that this is all of what's to be gained from that book. But the way I look at it is kind of like Jesus. It's like Jesus is a perfect human being, but yet he paid the price that we rightly deserved, right? We deserved a cross. We deserved to pay for all of our sins, right? Because we made a choice in the garden and we didn't choose to obey. We chose to basically be our own gods. And Jesus gets whipped, he gets his beard ripped out, he gets spit on, he gets called a devil. He said they said that his power was from demons. Like he had a bad reputation and they hated him and put him on a cross, right?
Right.
And but the thing is in order for anything to be gained in life, there must be a sacrifice. So, for instance, like, and the thing is like God wants willing sacrifices.
Right.
Jesus was a willing sacrifice. He willingly took the suffering for us because it's like, okay, you want to save money. Saving is a sacrifice. That means that you're not going to spend something because you're sacrificing something now for the payoff in the future.
Right.
You applying for jobs.
Right.
It's like you're sacrificing your time and your energy and your effort, whether that's going to interviews. There's plenty of things you could rather do, but it's like, okay, would you rather choose pleasure now or a greater pleasure later and make the sacrifices now to have that greater pleasure, right?
Right.
So in Job's case, part of this, I believe, was a blessing for Job because, I mean, he definitely got perfected. Unfortunately, like the way that us humans are is we tend to learn lessons the best whenever they're tough lessons.
Very true.
But the greater blessing that comes out of the book of Job is that we now have him as an example to look at because he's one of the most extreme examples of the Bible of losing literally everything, but still maintaining his faith. So it's like because he was a sacrifice, now we have somebody to look up to and be like, you know what? Even though I'm going through this divorce right now, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Right. Even though I lost my job, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. It's like if Job was able to do it in a much greater impact, I guess you could say, or a greater extent, then I could do this with what little I lost.
Right.
And that's ultimately the way that I look at it. Because I remember when I was going through my relationship breakup, the book of Job helped me out tremendously. Yeah. Because I looked at Job and I was like, man, this dude really had faith in God. He really trusted him. And it's like, it's real easy to just, God's not going to put more on you than you can bear.
Right.
So Job was freaking tough.
Yeah.
God wouldn't have put that on him if he was just going to crumble. And there was many times where Satan was like, okay, well, if I do this, then he'll surely deny you. And God's like, okay, you can do this, but you can't do this. And he put limitations. This whole way through that book, God is putting limitations on Satan, saying, okay, you can't kill him. And that was the final test. The final test was, okay, you can touch his flesh, but you can't kill him. And it's like God knew exactly how far Job was able to take it. And I mean, that was all that we got of the story, but I am sure that if Job knew the impact that he was going to have on literally generations for thousands of years because of his suffering, that he would do it all over again.
Right.
And it's like, it doesn't seem like a loving God when you're in the situation.
Right.
But when you're out of the situation, from hindsight, it's like, look at freaking Ken. It's like, if in the situation, although he wasn't conscious, it's like his wife in the situation, rather. It's like, God, what are you doing? How could you dare put him in a coma? How could you allow him to get to this point, you know? But it's like, once he comes out of the coma and he's this brand new man filled with faith and joy and so much hope and just appreciation for life, and now he has this impact on people and this love for people that he didn't have before. Out of his own mouth, he's like, I'm glad that it happened. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. And it's like, sometimes, like, even as cruel as it may seem, God knows exactly what the best outcome is for humanity as a whole and for us.
Right.
But
I looking at this from a non-religious, non-God believing perspective, it's a normal saying to say, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's an understood thing. And obviously, again, I'll take your word for it. Like, yeah, sure, Job was an extreme. And like even me as an example, like I'm sure God allowed me to get catfish. I'm sure God allowed me to get addicted to drugs, pornography, sex, lust, like everything that's so vain.
Yeah.
In order to develop my moral character and to develop my baseline, to develop the need to want to improve. Like I get that.
Yeah.
It's just, it's kind of, I will never understand it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, as much as I may think it's a cop-out, it's not my job to understand. It's my job to learn and to grow. That's my job on this earth.
Yeah.
Right? And to teach what I know to the next generation after me.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting thing. I always think this, and I may want to throw hands with God at one point. And even now, just as a respect thing, like, I need to know that you're here.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
I need to know that even if I can't touch you, that I can feel you. That I know that you're like here and you're willing to like post up to me, not because you want to hurt me, but because you want me to know that like I'm watching you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I literally pray this like every morning. It never fails. I pray, and to those listening, this is the intent behind this conversation isn't to like make it a religious podcast. I'm just talking about my experience. You listen, you tune in because you want to talk, you want to hear this conversation. So, it's veering into this. It's not programmed. It's not something that we're trying to convert anybody. We're just talking about it.
Yeah.
That's it. So thank you for being here. I pray every morning and I tell God, like, I hope one day I can have a cigar with you. I hope I get to talk to you one day. Like, I want to literally talk to you, whether it's here or in heaven, wherever. I want to just talk to you. Like, no, don't put me in a position to where, yet, of course, it's great being in heaven, being as happy as Ken and all that. But God made me an objective man. God made me an intellectual. So God knows that I always have questions.
Yeah.
Even if I can never give the answers to the people after me because I die, I want to know.
Yeah.
And I know that God doesn't want me to know, or it's not my job to know, but he knows who I am.
Yeah.
So you're like, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, this is something that I want more than anything.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know, the exact questions I want to ask God are, why did you allow my dad to get abused and become the man he is today?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you allow my mom to have so much pain and suffering to develop into who she is now?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you allow our relationship to be like that? And don't tell me to develop to break the chain link and everything, because you had all the control over everything. And I'm not judging you. I'm not saying that you're right or wrong. I want to understand. You know, it's kind of like asking me and the conversation that me and my dad have sometimes. Like, why did you do the things that you did? Granted, it was a long time ago, and maybe in the past life or whatever. Like, you know, I'm contextualizing everything.
Yeah.
But just help me understand why you do the things that you do, and don't tell me that it was to grow. Don't. Your parents will throw you into the pool when you're 5 years old to teach you how to swim.
Yeah.
Right? I get that. But some things with these extremes, it's like, dude, what's the point?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I literally pray for that, and I hope that one day, either in this lifetime or the next, I actually get to talk to God and like we level out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if it never leaves that area, wherever it is that I have that conversation, I can live with that.
Yeah.
But I, from my essence, from my spirit,
yeah,
I need to talk to you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a beautiful thing to me. It's an idea that I'm enamored with, because it's kind of like, what else could you possibly want than to actually smoke a cigar, or to those that smoke weed, smoke a joint with Jesus?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
though?
I know
Like,
what you're saying.
but to have that type of like interaction with that being,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like an interview with Elon Musk
Mm-hmm.
on a personal level,
Mm-hmm.
without business. We're talking to Jeff Bezos,
Yeah.
like that. To those that don't believe in God or anything like that, that's the context.
Yeah.
And I pray for everyone. I thank God every single morning
Mm-hmm.
for what He's given me.
Mm-hmm.
I thank God for letting me struggle and develop into who I am, and giving me the opportunity to develop even more, for letting me see the chain that needs to be broken, to letting me know that everything's gonna be all right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, like that all of this is a blessing, and I understand that. I just saying, I look forward to the day that, if He allows me to talk to Him, just like, let's just sit down and talk. If I'm already dead, we have a millennia to talk about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
that's something I hope that one day, whether in this life or the next, I get to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
just interesting to me, man.
Yeah. No, I feel that.
Yeah.
You know, man, like, it's funny, like, my girlfriend has a lot of questions similar to that, right?
Right.
And you know, my girlfriend is a strong believer.
Oh yeah, he has a girlfriend. You never actually mentioned her.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I got a girlfriend. And she's a strong believer, and she has a whole list of questions that she wants answered. But you know, man, like, this isn't something that is scriptural. So I'm not going to say that this is true. I'm just saying this is what I think.
Right.
Okay. Have you ever man, there's so many different situations. So let's say, like, you have anything that's great. Let's say a really, really beautiful woman.
Right.
I'm talking about the most beautiful woman that you've ever seen in your life.
Right.
And you have an opportunity to talk with her. Just with a human being that beautiful to you, you are a nervous wreck and can't even think of questions oftentimes. Have you ever experienced that before?
I have.
Yeah.
Definitely. In the past, yeah.
Right, yeah. It's like you can't even, you're so suave when it comes to talking to a 4 or a 5, but when you're talking to a perfect 10, it's like you're dumbfounded and you don't even know how to even interact like a regular human being anymore, right?
Yeah, I get that.
Or like the job of your dreams. You're full of nerves, and when you leave the interview, you're like, dang, maybe I should have said this. maybe I should say all of the questions that you would have had just left your mind in the most important moment of your life, right?
Right.
Like, that's the way that I look at, if we're comparing this to just natural things, I would imagine that once we're in the presence of the Almighty God, that these questions that we had won't really matter to us anymore.
Right.
Because we'll be in so great of awe at this being that is like, dude, I've always said this, like, there was a point in my walk where I wanted to be able to see angels and demons.
Right.
But then I started thinking about it, and like I would like fantasize and imagine an angel being in front of me. And this is just an angel. Even though it's an angel of God, I would be absolutely terrified to see an angel in real life.
Of course.
And this is a good guy, but I'd be terrified because I realize how powerless I am and how I don't understand this being at all. I can't, if this angel wanted to do something to me, it could. It could do whatever. I can't stop it. Like, that's just how I imagine God, man. Like Moses, he went up to the mountain and he came back down from the mountain with gray hair. And the people, the Israelites, when they saw him, they were terrified of him because he had the glory of God on him so strong. And all God allowed him to see was his hind parts. So I guess like the backside of his spirit, not like his butt, right?
Right.
But just a tail. Because the Bible says that if we were to even, we wouldn't be able to see God. Flesh can't dwell in the presence of God. We would literally die being able to see God face to face.
Is that something you're willing to do?
What?
Die in order to have a chance to see God. Would you be willing to do that?
We're all going to do that. Like, that's the only way we're going to see God, period, is if we die.
No, but let's say tomorrow, right? Well, let's say tonight, after this podcast. Let's say you're on your drive home out of nowhere. Let's say God is in your backseat. You feel a touch on your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously.
Would I be open to it?
And God tells you, I want you tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight's the night you go with me, and tonight's the night you see me. But you have to be willing to die. What would you say? See me.
Right.
Not go to heaven, just like see him. Like, yes, most people want to go to heaven. Yes, most people want to know that they're going to be
So what happens
okay.
when I see God? Do I just cease to exist?
You get the chance to see him and possibly talk to him. Would you be willing to die?
And then I cease to exist after that?
Yeah.
Man. Or I can live a full life serving him and then have eternal life with him forever? Is that the alternative, or what's the alternative?
I guess so, yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I would. Definitely.
You would?
Yeah.
Jesus.
If that's the climax of the human existence, is to aspire to go to heaven, but above heaven is to see the face of God and talk to him in an instant.
Man,
no
that's
questions
awesome.
asked.
That's awesome.
I'm telling you, man, I desire this more than anything. I'm not saying I want to die.
Right.
But if that is the whole point of all this.
Right.
The point of existing, the point is to praise God and to live for God.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that God is like, hey, you want to talk to me? This is how you can do it.
Yeah.
You die tonight, but you get the chance to do it.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
That's what's up, dude. I'm not there.
Yeah.
I'm not there. Like, I would like to say, yes, I'm there, but
right.
There's a lot that I want to do on this earth. And I think there's a lot of I don't want to say self-work as though like I'm the one that's making the improvement, but it's like, I just feel like there's a lot of growth in me, and there's a lot that I want to do as far as family is concerned, and there's a certain level of growth in God that I want to be at before I feel comfortable leaving this earth. I don't feel like I've made a big enough impact with my life. I don't feel like I've really done my job here to the full extent of what I would feel is, not that anything that I could do would ever make me valid enough to go to heaven or something like that. But it's like, I want to make a bigger impact, man. and I don't want to. Even if I got to meet God literally face to face and have a conversation with him, I would rather just live this existence to whatever date that he already
Right.
has for me, and then spend eternity with him. And
Of course. Yeah, that's the rational route. And of course, it was just a thought, like,
Yeah.
what if?
yeah,
You know? And of course, I'm not saying I want to die. The same thing. I want to establish a family. I want that if I do die,
yeah,
to have something afterward. Like this podcast is that something for me. I've said it
Yeah.
before. Like
Yeah.
this is something that people can hear down the road, or even my kids, and like, you want to know who your dad was?
yeah,
Go listen to this podcast.
right,
You'll know everything about me.
yeah,
But yeah, I stand. Of course, it's fear. Like it's scary
yeah.
to think
dude,
about that. And
definitely, yeah,
like, man, you'll be hit with like, man, I really like this will happen now. You think about everything, but if the purpose of man is to live for God, and God is telling me, you want to come home today and like talk to me,
yeah,
yeah, I really do think I would. No, I know I would say yes. And if I were to die, know that God called me. And I
Dude.
said, yeah.
You saying like because you said that, I'm like scared for you because I'm like, man, I've heard stories like this before where they said something and then next thing you know, it's like, all right, you serious, Mario? Bet. I'll
Yeah.
challenge you to that. And it's like, next thing you know, I'm like, okay, well, God got to meet, Mario got to meet God. I'm
Yeah.
like, shoot. But I mean, at the same time, like, that's from a human perspective. Like, I should say it more of like, Mario got to meet God, instead of Mario got to meet God. It's like that instead of like this terror,
Right.
it should be more of like a wow,
Yeah.
that's freaking awesome.
That's how I see it. I don't see it
Yeah.
as like, man, he died. Like, oh, what's gonna happen? Life's gonna keep going.
Yeah.
You know, if I were to die, you already know what I expect the people that are closest to me to do.
Yeah,
I don't want mourn, fine, but don't let my life be the end of yours.
right. Yeah,
That for a fact that's not what I would want for any
yeah.
of you.
You've
So-
said that in the previous
and
podcast.
I'll say it again.
Yeah.
Like it said, if you get depressed and you stop your life for mine, I'm disappointed in you already.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
that's not what God would want for us, and that's not what I want for us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
yeah,
And of course, I'm not challenging God. I'm just
Right.
it's just stating the scenario.
right.
It's the way I see it, it's like, what if you won the lottery today, but you have to lose everyone else in your life?
Yeah,
Similar.
yeah,
Basically, that's kind of like the Christian lottery. essentially.
right. Yeah,
But it's an interesting thing, man, and it's all full circle. Like, you start this life not knowing anything.
yeah,
You end this life knowing everything, and it's just what you do in the time that you form that circle
hmm
that really determines if it was worth it in the end or not,
hmm yeah.
So, full circle, man.
Literally brought it around full circle.
Yeah.
That was dope.
So, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank
it's
you.
been a pleasure to talk with all of you, for letting you hear this. And this podcast is not stopping, by the way, just because I'm transitioning jobs. I'll have time.
Yeah.
It'll be all right.
Yeah, you got 3.5 days off, so
Yeah.
you got time.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. I don't know what I'm going to do, but that's a blessing. And my biggest concern is finding time to fill my day, then that's a blessing, dude.
Yeah.
I do not take it for granted
Definitely.
because I've never had it.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, this has been Mario.
And Clint.
We're out.